When is the last time where you had that moment of clarity that changed your life? Like, part of the reason you are where you are now is because of that moment of clarity. Like, you saw it crystal clear. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you went and delivered. Like, that's the game you should be looking to play in every facet of life, every pillar of life. Oh, you know what, Linnell, I have that professionally. Okay, now let's get it in your health. Oh, you know what, Linnell? Oh, I have that spiritually. Okay, now let's get it in your relationships. I believe one of the reasons we can't make the impact we intend to make in the areas that we are doing well in is because the table is leaning. When I say the table is leaning, the four pillars, like, you know, you want to have a spiritual impact on people, but your physical health doesn't display that. I don't trust you. Why would I believe you spiritually when I look at your physical? I can see that your physical health is out. How are you helping me? Well, they need to be, no. You see how we project? What can I do to ensure that my purpose and my message is received? That's leadership. I'm willing to push the plate to the side. I'm willing to bring a certain level of discipline. Like, when is the last time you had clarity, and how can you bring that clarity to another part of your life? But here's the thing. Clarity is going to demand of you courage. More than anything, the courage to face yourself. Like, what gets in our way? I think another way to say that is, what gets in the person who is intentional? Like, the person that is intentional, what gets in their way? And you got to qualify that in some ways, because unfortunately, I do believe there are people who lack intent, lack direction, and may never. Hopefully there's something that will wake them up, but may never. And I believe part of the reason for that is a lack of clarity. Like, they don't have they lack clarity on who they are. They lack clarity on their purpose. They lack clarity on their potential impact. They lack clarity on their worth. I mean, the list goes on and on. And so as a result, they are moving as they're blown. And then there's what I would say is many of us, where we do want to create something in our lives that we can be proud of. We do want to align with the Creator's will for our life. Like, there's a seed, there's a desire. And those are the folks I want to speak to this morning. Now, I did a show some time ago where I said, I'm going to put you on the game for free, and the cost is your attention. The cost is your attention. And today, it's going to be the same exact way. Because what I want to talk about is the cost of clarity. Like, getting crystal clear about what you should be doing, who you are, where you should be going, getting crystal clear about that, what it will cost you. Because ain't nothing free, including today's show. Like, it's going to cost you your attention. And by the way, there are people who have a desire to be successful, but somewhere along the way, they lost that ability to focus. They lost that ability to tune in. They lost that ability to stay with a particular message for a particular amount of time. And so they won't pay. They won't pay. Or they'll get distracted by something else. And the cost of clarity is your focus. And I think that's why it's so expensive. Like, the cost of clarity is your focus. Now, before we go anywhere else, why is clarity worth paying for? So I spent, I would say at this point, not the majority of my life, but a good portion of my life being a leader. I got blessed to receive the title. And I probably received the title before I actually became a leader, like a real true leader. But I received the title when I was 25 years old. And I had led in some capacity before that, but I received the title when I was 25 years old. And I think very quickly I began to see how complex and difficult leadership is. And in that, when I really began to learn, like getting clear on what leadership is, right? Because there's a cost to that. When I began to understand what true leadership looks like and what true leadership costs, like the cost of being a true leader. Because, by the way, the cost of being a true leader is that you are willing to take on the problems of those that you lead, like the struggles of those that you lead as your own, so you can lead them to the solution and be able to meet them where they are so that they can get to the solution as well. And that takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice, which is why we live in a world where there aren't many true leaders, like really true leaders. A lot of folks like the title. A lot of folks like to play the role, but I mean like true leadership. There's a story I tell when I'm speaking with executives. I began to come into it in about 2005 when I came to this company. They actually measured leadership. And this is where I got an objective feedback on who I was as a leader, where, you know, it wasn't just what I thought, because when I came into that company, I thought I was a pretty good leader. In fact, I thought I was a great leader because the company I left when I was leaving, the folks I led, you know, there were a few tears from a few people. It was, oh, sad to see you go. Like, oh, who are they going to hire and put in your place? And I thought, I must be pretty good. I must be all right if folks are shedding tears over me. I had no idea that I had so much further to go. So anyway, I come into this company, and one of the things they did is they would do these leadership forums. And I remember being at the very first leadership forum and sitting there in my seat, and they had this part of the forum where they would reward leaders they called dynamic leaders. They would reward these leaders by calling their names. They would come to the stage, and all the other leaders who are part of the company, this is all like leadership company meeting at certain level. Like, you were at a certain level. If you were a manager, then you had to be in Chicago for this meeting. And so these leaders would get acknowledged by all the other leaders of the company, on stage, and they would call them up. And I remember seeing this, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be on that stage. And so a year passes, and now I have results that, because how they measured who these dynamic or who these phenomenal leaders were is by feedback from their teams. It was based on what the team said about them, right? Not what they thought about themselves. Because let's be clear, and today we're talking about the cost of clarity. Most of us live in the lie that we're doing really good because we're not clear. And there's a cost to clarity. So I was living in that lie. I thought I was a phenomenal. I mean, you couldn't have told me come 2006 when I'm sitting there in that audience that I wasn't about to receive that award. Like, you couldn't tell me that, because I thought, based on how I saw myself, because I didn't see myself clearly, because I was too close to see myself clearly. I'm gonna talk about that more. But I was too close to see myself clearly. I thought that I was a phenomenal leader. So I remember I'm sitting in the audience, and they get to the portion of the forum where they're calling out these phenomenal leaders, these dynamic leaders. And I'm about to receive this award, so I thought. And so I began to prepare my lap. I had my journal, I was taking notes and all that, but, now it's time to close that up and put it to the side, because when they call my name, I need to be ready to get into the aisle and go up and receive my award for being a phenomenal leader. So anyway, they're going by last name alphabetics, and they start to get close to H. And I prepare my lap, and I'm on the edge of my seat. You know how you sit when you have to get up. You have to get up. I'm on the edge of my seat, and now they're in I. Oh, wait a second. I'm H-A. I should have been early in the H's. The H-I-J, the K's, the L's, the M, the N's are called. I realize I'm not going to get called. And I remember, I started to feel a little angry, and I began to project my feelings onto my team. And this is what we do as human beings, especially when we're not clear. When we're not clear, then becomes everyone else's fault. How could they not see the type of leader I am? How could they not, how could they not assess me in a way that put me on stage? For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what I might be missing as a leader that did not have me on that stage, because the opinion that I had of myself was that I was one of the best leaders they could have ever had. So at the end of the forum, everyone will go out and get their survey results, like the leadership survey results. And I remember making a beeline to the table, standing in the H line and getting my results. And I couldn't wait. I mean, there was still, the foyer was still packed with leaders, and I couldn't wait. I ripped it open. I opened it up. I'm looking at it, and I'm flipping through the pages because I need to understand what my score is, because I'm pretty sure on this 5-point scale, you had to be almost perfect, 4.95 or above, and I must be a 4.94. Right? That's the only reason I didn't get on the stage. And I open it, and I see that not only I'm not in the 4s, but I'm in the low 3s. And almost immediately, I'm furious. And I'm not furious with myself. You would think that if there's an objective survey about my leadership by more than 20 people, that I might go, uh-oh. I might go, uh-oh, what's wrong with me? But instead, I got furious with them. How dare they share what they shared in this survey about me? And I remember I was flipping through because I had to see my lowest score. What is the lowest score? What is the lowest score? And when I got to the lowest score, my heart dropped, because what I saw in terms of how my team saw my leadership, that is when it came to respect, they felt that was the lowest competence I brought to the table. And I was shook. I'm like, these can't be my results. I know what it feels like to be disrespectful or be disrespected. I would never disrespect anybody on my team. How can these be my results? I'm not a disrespectful person. I couldn't see it. Anyway, fast forward, and what the company did is they would have a member of HR go over your results with you, and then go into a team meeting with your team. And I had a virtual team, so some of the people were there, some of the people were on the phone, and this is before Zoom. And we're in this meeting months later. It's maybe 2 or 3 months later. We're in this meeting, and we get to respect. We're going through my survey results, and I'm listening to this feedback from the members of the team who are courageous enough to bring color to the feedback for me. We get to respect, and the HR director who is supporting me says, All right, this is Linnell's lowest score. Are you willing to give an example of why you believe that Linnell as a leader lacks respect? And of course, I'm looking. I got to hear what, I'm giving that look in the room like, yeah, man, like who did it? Who done it? And eventually, one of the stars on my team, young lady, she raises her hand. She says, I can give an example. And she begins to go on and say that how in one-on-ones, when she's trying to share a concept with me, I'll be multitasking. And here's the thing I want you to understand. And again, today's show is the cost of clarity. I'm telling this story so you really understand how we operate as human beings and why clarity costs us so much. Because I believe the first cost is humility. You have to understand, first and foremost, that you don't have it figured out. And most of us know it, but most of us don't want to believe it. We do not want to believe that we do not have it figured out. And I remember as a young leader, I did not want to believe that I did not have leadership figured out. And you would think as a young leader with, minimal leadership experience, I probably should have been thinking I got a long road to go. But I didn't want to believe that. I wanted to believe that I was the exception, that I was born and put on this earth to be a powerful, phenomenal leader, and that people loved me, they liked me, and to receive the truth was very difficult. It was incredibly difficult to actually sit and be with. So the star of my team puts her hand up, and she shares that when I'm giving Linnell, I believe important updates about my work, he'll pick up his phone, and he'll look at it if it goes off. There are times when he'll turn to the computer as I'm talking and click his mouse, and I feel like what I'm saying is not heard. Now, what she was saying was true. It was true. I did conduct myself like that. But at the time, what was going through my mind was, you don't understand. Now, how many of you all have been receiving feedback from your spouse and you're like, you don't get it. You don't understand. The reason I do that, right? Because there's a reason. And in my mind, the reason I do that is because I am responsible for running a global operation. And when I'm looking at my phone, I'm looking at service level updates. That at any moment my phone can ring and a senior leader is asking me what is going on. And part of my responsibility is to understand what is going on in these operations. And to sit back and be chastised for doing my job from people that work for me does not feel good, and they need to grow up. They need to get themselves together. They need to stop being so sensitive because they need to understand the weight of responsibility that is on me. That is exactly what I was thinking in that moment, as she said. And this is my star. Like, oh, so you need my full attention. I hear you. I understand what's going on. But you have to understand there are things more important than you in this business. And that's what I was thinking. Then another person got up and gave an example. And as the examples began to come, I began to realize that, oh, wait a second. There might be something going on with me. There just might be something going on with me. I remember coming out of that meeting, going to my office, and I had to work through my feelings, my emotions. One of the things we're going to talk about the next time I'm on the air is emotional regulation. The importance of emotional regulation. We talked about the cost of your emotional currency. Now we're going to talk about the importance of your ability to actually regulate those emotions. But today we're talking about the cost of clarity. And so I'm sitting in my office and I'm thinking, okay, you set a goal. You set a goal. And that goal was to get on the stage as a dynamic leader. And you just received feedback about why you are so far from the goal. Linnell, you have two choices to make. You can get clear on what's in the way, or you can deny it and never make it. Like, it doesn't matter what I thought. It didn't matter if I thought it was wrong or right. It didn't matter if they understood me or not, if they understood the position I was in as a leader with responsibilities. None of that mattered. What mattered is the perception of the people that I led was that I was not respectful. That's what mattered. And let me ask you a question. Do you know how difficult it is as a man, as someone who wants to be a good leader? Like, I had a desire to be a good leader, to actually sit with the clarity of the truth. Do you know how difficult that is to sit with truth? The first cost of clarity is the humility to know, the humility to understand that you do not have it figured out. Like, most of us don't have this figured out. Most of us are missing important information that will take us to the next level. Part of the cost of clarity is actually being with the concept that in this moment, there is opportunity for me. Like, for me. The self-awareness to admit to myself that as clear as I think I may be, I may not be clear at all. In fact, if you do not live in a situation where you have funnels of feedback continuously coming at you, it's likely that you're not clear at all. And the reason is because the last person who knows who they really are typically is you. Everybody else can see you, though. Let me give you an example of what I mean. How many of us have a loved one? How many of us know someone in our lives where they are incredibly difficult to be with? And it's not just what you think, but it's what everybody in the family thinks about that person, right? For this one moment, we're going to look outside ourselves. Everybody in the family thinks this about this person. All the friends in the group think this about this person. If we invite her, it's going to be all about her for the whole brunch. We're going to all have to sit here and listen to all the things that are going on for her, and we ain't going to be able to get a word in edgewise. It's going to be I don't want to call no name show. You get where I'm going? Because, I don't want to, but and everybody, all the friends know it, but her. And by the way, each friend individually has tried to tell her, and the friend group at the last brunch tried to tell her, she made the brunch about her, and she was furious with them. Y'all jealous. Y'all jealous of my win. You get where I'm going? Because the last person to see clearly what's going on for us is us, always. So the cost of clarity is the ability to actually listen to feedback we don't like. And this is expensive. This is expensive. The cost of clarity is the ability to listen to feedback about myself that I don't like, and then take it and begin to adjust. You know how much humility that requires? That's the cost. Clarity comes with benefits. And so for every time we pay the cost, something phenomenal happens. Because as I paid the cost for clarity in terms of what it required of me to be the type of leader that my team needed, as I began to pay that cost, something began to happen. The next year, the results went up. I didn't get on stage, but I was in the fours. And then the year after that, I was in the 4.5s. I didn't get on stage, but there was an increase. And for each year, I came into that company in 2005. I wasn't on that stage to 2011. The cost was 6 years of listening to feedback from my team to become the leader that they thought qualified to be a phenomenal leader, a dynamic leader. And that meant listening to sometimes things I thought were ridiculous, adjusting in ways to meet them where they were, despite what I felt like doing. It required a great deal of discipline, a great deal of sacrifice, and a great deal of humility. And let me tell you what happened. And this is why I know clarity is worth the cost. When I got clear on what it took to become the leader that would walk that stage, when I finally received the acknowledgement, it was no longer about me. It was about them. We won. We won. And I remember them calling my name, because after sitting for 6 years and not going getting on stage, maybe for the first 2 to 3, I would be on the edge of my seat. And I remember they were calling the dynamic leaders, and at this point, I was fine with a 4.7, a 4.8, because I knew that meant that while there was work to do, I wasn't the perfect leader. I was still in the top percentile. And I felt good about that. I felt good about the fact that I met them where they were. And I remember that day. They were going through the H's, and I was just sitting there. I was used to my name not being called. And they finally said, Linnell Harris. And this rush of emotion came over me. And as tough as I wanted to be, as tough as I think I am, I felt my eyes begin to well with tears, because the cost of that award was humility, listening, being with comments and feedback that I didn't understand, but I worked to understand, questioning, curiosity. I mean, the list goes on in terms of the things I had to go through, the things I had to let go of, the things I had to listen to become that type of leader. And because I had finally done the work and I knew the cost, I also knew how delicate and how big of an accomplishment, not just on a personal level, but on a team level, in terms of the relationships that were formed, in terms of the work that was done as a result of that. I understood it. And I remember walking down that aisle, tears coming down my face, like just blown away that I had finally achieved this particular goal. But it came with the cost. That's what created the emotion. It came with the cost. And because I had earned it, it was now a part of who I was. I was able to earn that award 2011, 2012, 2013, and on and on. But it came with a cost. As a coach, as someone who has supported, hundreds of leaders, hundreds of individuals in attaining their goals, is that the number one reason people do not create what they intend to create is because they are not clear about what they want to create. They have an idea, but the idea is blurry. They have a concept, but the concept isn't fully in focus. Like many people, most folks will say, well, that's not true, Linnell. I'm very clear that I want to lose 30 pounds this year. And I would say to you, okay, you're very clear that you want to lose 30 pounds, but are you clear about the cost? Are you clear about what it's going to take? Are you clear about the ramifications? Are you clear about the boomerang effect? Are you clear about the fact that if you begin to radically change how you move in your life, that there might be people who no longer want to come around you? She thinks she's all that. She done lost that weight and changed, girl. And by the way, to lose 30 pounds does require some level of transformation and change. So they would be telling the truth. Are you willing to leave them behind as a result of that? Are you willing to put your health first, no matter what happens as a result of attaining your goals. Like, this is what I mean when it comes to clarity. Are you clear on the cost? Like, are you clear on the cost? And are you so locked in? Are you so focused that it doesn't matter? I was sharing with someone not too long ago that one of the things about being goal driven is that over time, the people in your life who are not goal driven tend to fall off. And it doesn't feel good. I've yet to have lost a relationship where the person said, man, you're just moving too fast. I can't keep up, brother, so I'm just going to let you go. You get where I'm going? Instead, what do? You different. You changed. You're this. You're that. You know, these little cuts, you know, that hurt and sometimes discourage you from moving forward. And this is why clarity is so important, because when there's no clarity, there's no discipline. And one of the things we talked about in the very open of the masterclass is, first, I asked the question, what's killing your clarity? What's getting in the way of your clarity? And then behind that, I shared with the masterclass that when there's no clarity, there is no discipline. One of the things that I began to understand over the years working with individuals, whether in groups, one-on-one, or teams, is that almost every time a client came to me and they were struggling with a particular goal, or there were breakdowns in that goal, they were making promises to themselves about what they were going to do and not delivering. Most of the time they would say, Linnell, I lack the discipline to go there. I lack the discipline to do this. And we make up these stories about ourselves to excuse ourselves from taking our life and those around us to the next level. And one of the stories that many of us tell ourselves is, well, I'm just not that disciplined. I imagine that some of you who listen to me, you've heard the story about how I changed my diet in 2017 and I stopped eating certain meats, etc. And you'll oh, well, I don't even know if that's necessary. And if it were, I'm not that disciplined. I'm not that disciplined. You know, Linnell, I would be in better shape if I had more discipline around my eating. If I were disciplined in that area, I would be better. But I'm not so disciplined there, and unfortunately, that's where I fail. That's where I fall. And we'll lay the excuse of a lack of discipline, because by the way, and people will be okay with it. Like, we'll lay the excuse of a lack of discipline on the reason we're not able to take a pillar in our life to the next level. If it's your first time listening to me, what I mean by pillars, 4 pillars. One pillar number 1, health and well-being. Pillar number 2, your relationships. Pillar number 3, your work and money. Pillar number 4, your purpose and spirituality. And we allow those pillars to remain unformed, decrepit, broken, however you may think about it, because we hold a limiting belief around our discipline in that area. Well, when you tell me you're not disciplined, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Because many of us have accomplished phenomenal things, miraculous things in our lives. You take a look at your life. For some of you, the fact that you're still here is a miracle. The fact that you're still here is a message of perseverance. That doesn't look like someone who lacks discipline. I would rather say, instead of saying you lack discipline, what I'm saying this morning is you lack clarity. The clearer you are, the more powerful you will be. It's that simple. Like, write that one down. The clearer you are, the more powerful you will be. Why do you think there is such an extensive effort in the 21st century when we have the tools to make ourselves millionaires? Because let's be clear, all you need is an iPhone. That's all you need. So most of us have the tool that can take us financially where we need to be. But the reason we're not where we need to be or where we want to be financially is because that same tool is loaded with distractions that kill your clarity. And so every time you pick it up to be industrious, every time you pick it up to take yourself to the next level, what happens is that you lose your clarity. And the reason I know that most of you all are disciplined is because at least 80% of you all woke up this morning and brushed your teeth. One of the first things you did was brush your teeth. And if you haven't, you need to go do it. I share this often with the Slayer Goals members because one of the things that we get to is when we write our goals down, I say, okay, now the exercise is to read those goals every day. And I've had clients who come back to me and say, Linnell, I don't have the discipline to read my goals every day. I've been trying. I just cannot do it. I just cannot. It is so difficult for me to read my goals. And almost always part of the reason it's difficult for them to read their goals is because they lack the clarity on what would happen if they did. Like if you really understood what happens when you do, it's one thing for me to say, well, it's a practice I take on and it's worked incredibly well. And you can look at me and say, well, okay. But then when it comes to you, it's like, yeah, I don't know. And then I remember I had one client, first client that ever told me this. He was like, well, it just takes too much time. I said, do it right now. Let me time you. You want me to read them right now? Read them right now. Let me time you. So they began to read them, and they read them slow because they had to prove the point. They go through the goals. They get to goal number 4, and they finish. And they're like, see? And I'm like, okay, if a minute and 40 seconds is too much. How long does the dentist tell you to brush your teeth? 2 minutes. How long does it take for a person to get clean and clear on their goals? 2 minutes. Why is it difficult for a person to get clean and clear on their goals? Because there is always a formidable amount of resistance for the things that will transform your life. And you're not clear on why reading your goals matter. If you were clear, you would do it. Same reason you brush your teeth. You know that if you don't brush your teeth, that one day your mouth will not be attractive. You're clear on it. I don't have to convince you of that. You know it. And so you take on the daily practice. This is the cost of clarity. This is the cost of clarity. But what is clarity? What is clarity? On a personal level, I believe clarity is knowing who you are. Now, let's back up real quick. What is the definition of knowing? What is the definition of knowing? Because I think this might be where a lot of us struggle. Like, because right now, you would say, well, Linnell, I know. I know who I am. Yeah, but what is the definition of knowing? Knowing is suggesting that one has knowledge or awareness that is secret or known to only a few. That is the very definition of knowing. I want to be because a lot of people are like, well, I know who I am. And then the definition itself says, no, you don't. Because by definition of the word knowing, it says that definition number 1, showing or suggesting that one has knowledge or awareness that is secret or known to only a few people. So then I can deduct from this that when I say, do you know yourself? I can say probably not, because to know yourself is suggesting that you have knowledge or awareness that is secret or known to only a few. And then what I believe in this world is many of us have information, but we haven't realized the information. Let me give you an example. I own a home. I know I can take out an equity loan, but I haven't done it. And because most of us will say, well, I know, but that doesn't mean you've done it. You've actually done the work to know yourself. Knowing is doing something in full awareness or consciousness. I know. I know. When you think about your life, almost anything that you got crystal clear about, you've achieved. I was sharing with a CEO I work with who is just navigating all types of challenges with the company and with the team. You know, it was, it's not in my nature to be this type of leader. Like, part of what this leader began to share with me is, I'm not the type of person that, steps into conflict. And I'm not the type of person. And I listened to this leader as they kind of gave me all the excuses for why they can't step into their power as a leader. And when the leader finished, I started to read their vision to them. And I was reading the vision. I would just pause every now and then and say, so because you're not this person, you're not going to get this. And then I'll keep reading it. And by the time I finished, they were like, man, listening to you talk about my vision, it put something different underneath me. Like now, see, because here's the thing. If conflict is the crucible I need to go through to get what I want, like when you get clear on what you want, you're like, you know what? The conflict ain't so bad. If difficulty is the crucible I need to go through to get to but see, here's the thing. You won't go through it if you're not clear on why. I love the quote by Nietzsche, where he says, he who knows his why can endure almost anyhow. So he or she that is clear on where they're going can endure almost anything on the road. I can deal with it when I'm clear. But see, the problem is most of us, we're just not clear. We're just not clear. And this is why we don't show up for ourselves. This is why we're not showing up as the individual that we intend to be. And then we use that as information, as data for why I can't be successful. And what I'm telling you this morning, no, you're disciplined. You're disciplined in certain areas. You never miss your favorite show. That requires discipline. And you know why you never miss your favorite show? Because you're clear on how it makes you feel. You're like, you will design your entire day. Some folks will design their entire day around like an element of entertainment. That requires discipline. But they're clear on the dopamine hit and payoff that they get from that. They're so clear on it, that's why they design the entire day around it. What if you got that clear on your goals? What if you had that type of clarity about your health? What would happen? A lot of folks might like to say, well, Linnell, you're just super disciplined. And I would say, I'm more so just clear. I'm just clear. And the clarity is what leads to what's perceived as the high levels of discipline. All right, I promised I would get into what is clarity, because I think this is really important. Because if whatever's killing our clarity is also killing our discipline, right? no clarity, no discipline, then what exactly is clarity then? Like, what exactly is clarity? So we talked about clarity on a personal level, knowing who you are and what you want. And if you missed the first hour, I read the definition of knowing, because when someone says, I know who I am and whose I am, often I think it sounds good but it's more of a vernacular exercise. Because if you really did know who you are and whose you are, and it was clear, there'd be a different level of discipline. Like, it was clear. There would be some things that you just be like, yeah, I can't. I'm not going to do that. I can't partake in that, because I'm so clear about whose I am that I don't want to disrupt that. I'm so clear about the power I get from that alignment that, I'm good. Because I'm so clear. But if I'm cloudy, it's out of focus, then what you say again? What we gonna do? Where we going? How we gonna do it? The other part of clarity is, and by the way, the personal piece, knowing who you are and what you want. Like, I want you to think about that in the context of your health. Like, are you crystal clear on a type of health that you want in your life? I remember reading Robert Greene's book, The Laws of Human Nature. And in this book, he has a whole chapter dedicated to death. And what he says in this chapter is that the reason most people don't live powerful lives where they move quickly on the things that they desire is because they deny the possibility of death. And then he goes on to say that when a person is clear about when they're going to die, often they achieve things in small spans of time that they never achieved in their lives. And he went on to give this example of I believe it was a young woman who had got the diagnosis of death, and she always wanted to write a book. And she got the diagnosis of death that, hey, you only have 3 months. And a book that took her a lifetime to write, she got done in a matter of months. Because she became clear that, oh, wait, this is about to end. And the clarity of knowing when it was going to end drove a level of discipline she never had. So what about you? What did you need to get clear on when it comes to your health? Some of us don't even know our numbers, which is what's driving the lack of discipline. Oh, I'm just too busy. No, you don't want clarity, because the clarity is going to drive a different behavior. It always does. When you think about your physical health, what needs to transform? Are you clear? Are you clear on the benefits that will come into your life as a result of it? When it comes to your mental health, your emotional fitness, like, what do you want to see created? See, it's not popular to say, oh, you're depressed, set some goals. As a matter of fact, people get upset with that, or that's irresponsible. And then no one talks about the irresponsibility of the physicians who are prescribing medicines that then make you suicidal. Like, well, what about that level of responsibility? All I said was set a goal. And, and the only side effects of that are positive. It's very clear, it's documented that goals create new levels of enthusiasm, and 80% of the happiness comes from some level of intent in our life. Are you clear about what you intend to learn in 2025? Like, here's how I'm going to intellectually grow. And if I take on that intellectual growth, this is what it will manifest in my life. Clarity. What about your relationship? On a personal level. Like, are you clear about if you and your spouse are fully aligned, what is possible in your marriage? what is possible in your finances, what is possible with your children. Like, it's that lack of clarity that then allows us to treat each other the way we do. I believe that some of the men that struggle to come home, if they clearly saw the results of that in their children's life, the results of that in their marriage, like if they clearly saw the impact of that, it would give them the discipline to be where they want to be, to be where they need to be. All of a sudden, like the drink with the fellas wouldn't be so attractive. What about on a professional level? Like, how clear are you in terms of what you intend to create? How clear are you on what you intend to create in your career? Or are you just kind of going with the flow? How clear are you on the amount of revenue? Like all the way down to what it requires of you weekly, almost daily. How clear are you on your revenue goals for 2025? When it comes to your financial clarity, how clear are you on what it's going to take for you to retire? Do you think, and no shade to anybody who works in service, but do you think the 70-plus-year-old Walmart greeter, like that was part of the vision for them? And what I can tell you, and by the way, I've met a brother who was a Walmart greeter. I don't know how we got into a conversation, but I could tell almost immediately in the conversation. I walked in, he was like, "Good morning, bro. How you doing?" You know, I could say like, I said, "Man, you real happy." He was like, "Oh, man, it's just good to be alive." And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "So, what has you here?" And he was like, "Man, I just like greeting people. I like bringing a smile to a person's face. We need more of it." And I said, "Here?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, because most of the folks here ain't happy." And I said, "What makes you happy?" He said, "Because I don't got to be here. I'm here because I'm doing what I do." I was like, oh, okay. But see, he was clear that when he retired, he was going to do what he wanted to do. And what he wants to do is bring smiles to people's faces. You could tell in his disposition that something was, you ain't a regular Walmart worker, bro. You get where I'm going? Something different about you. Because he didn't have to be there. He chose to be there. Where will you be at 70? You clear? See, because if you're not clear, you might be one of his coworkers. What about your relationships? Are there people you need to let go? Are you clear on their intent for you? Are you clear on the intent that they have for the relationship? What's your intent for the relationship? Maybe that will drive some level of clarity and discipline to let go. I think if we sit with some of these questions, all of a sudden, like, the directions become clear. Like, ooh, wait, this doesn't serve me. This relationship doesn't serve me. This friendship doesn't serve me. Here's, I believe, the first barrier to clarity. In order to become clear, you have to face the hard truth about yourself. You got to deal with the shadow. You got to deal with the shadow. You got to deal with that dysfunctional, crazy, self-loathing part of you that, by the way, will destroy all of the hard work you've done over the years. Like, you have to actually go and look at it and be with it and say, where are you disrupting me? And by the way, when you look at it, it's the hard truth because it's a part of you. It's the crazy uncle that still lives inside you. You get where I'm going? It's the epigenetic part of your DNA that you haven't been able to fully conquer yet. It's the auntie that used to cause all the problems. You see her. You see her in you. You know she's alive. It's that thing about your mama that you don't like that you do. It's that part of your daddy that you can't stand that's a full part of you. Like in order to get clear, you got to go look at all that. And most folks, they'll take a little peek. They'll look inside the door. Ooh, not me. Not me. Those can't be my shadows. And as a result, we never get clear. We never get clear. It's too triggering. It's too tough. That can't be a part of who I am. That just can't be my story. That's not how I show up in the world. Not me. Not me. No, that's not me. And the real price is actually confronting the parts of you that you're ashamed of. The parts of you that you would never tell anybody about. The parts of you where you're like, I have the capacity to do that. I have the capacity. The ability to confront your fears. Men, you know what? The reason I'm not showing up that way is because I'm actually afraid. And I say men because the brothers, in my experience in coaching, I can get a sister, she'll get there fast. I'm like, are you scared? She's like, yeah, I think I'm scared. A brother, 60 minutes later, he'd be like, well, maybe I'm afraid. Man, you got to deal with it. You got to say, if I see this behavior in my mother, if I see this behavior in my father and I don't like it, then it's probably something I need to deal with. It's probably a part of me. And it might be one of the reasons I'm not getting to my goals. It might be one of the reasons I'm not getting where I intend to go. And if I see it in them and it triggers me, then I have to believe the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And so let me go get my therapy. Let me go make these investments. Let me do what I need to do. It's facing the hard truth. Because clarity doesn't fog up just because you look in another direction. So when I look at my mama, what do I see? Ooh, that's me over there. Am I willing to deal with it? When I look at my daddy, what do I see? Ooh, that's me too over there. Am I willing to deal with it? And what happens is, if we don't deal with it, then we'll close the closet door on these uncomfortable realities and never become who we intend to be. The vision gets fuzzy again because you can't get where you intend to go if you don't deal with it. You gotta clearly look at, if it's in them, it's in me. How do I deal with it? What do I need to do? The other part is letting go. So facing the hard truths that's the tough part. Matter of fact, somebody probably turned me off now. I'm not dealing. I can't listen to this. Because it's like, I don't want to look at those truths. And the difference is you got to get to a point where you're like, man, I see what's available to me. And it's so clear that I'm willing to go through whatever it requires to refine me into the person I'm supposed to be so I can have what I'm supposed to have. So what is it that I'm supposed to do so I can create that? And it's like, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how many years I have to sit in therapy. I don't care how long the 12 steps of ACA may take me. I don't care who I have to call and make amends to. I don't care. I see so clearly where I intend to go that I'm willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. I'm willing to face the truth. The other reason the price is high is because you got to let go. I talked about that, the relationship. And I could talk about it like it was easy. It was tough. I had to pray about it. I had to force myself not to call. It's clear that it's not aligned anymore. I got to let it go. Some folks will say, man, that's cutthroat. I'm going to tell you something. You better get cutthroat if you want to be successful. You better, and I'm not talking cutthroat hurt people. I'm talking about cutthroat and letting go. Some people need to get let go. They don't need an explanation. They don't require an explanation. They don't require anything of you other than letting them go. Goodbye. Without even saying goodbye. I'm going to show you goodbye with my actions. Like I said, me and bro never been out. We ain't been out since. We ain't been on the phone since. I ain't been in his house since. I ain't talked to him since. I let him go. Hey, I love that woman I call my wife more than any love I got for you. Goodbye. I don't got to explain myself. It's the mother of my children. Are you kidding me? Are you really to release it? Here's the other thing. Some of us, we have a romantic relationship with our disempowering beliefs. Maybe it's time to let it go. Like, Linnell, a romantic relationship with my disempowering beliefs? Yeah. Every time you have a pity party. Every time you're like, oh, see, this doesn't work for me. Like, yeah, that's the emotional payoff. You get to feel sorry for yourself. When you going to let it go? When you going, like, do you want the vision for your life so bad that you're willing to take full responsibility no matter what? No matter what. No more pity parties. I'm going to be fully responsible. One of the habits I had, and I sit back, I think about it because my life is so different now, but I had a habit of sleeping in. But I was a young man in my 20s and 30s. I remember I used to hate 9 o'clock meetings. Oh, 9 o'clock. Oh, I got to get up early. You know what I would pay to get up at, like to be able to get up for a 9 o'clock meeting now? But back then, it was a habit I had to release. In order for me to go to the next level, in order for me to get clarity, I'm going to have to get up when it's dark sometime. It's nothing more rewarding than driving on the street by yourself, no music playing in silence, no cars, no nothing. Sitting at a red light where nobody's around, nobody's sitting next to you, you're sitting at a red light, there's nobody even going through the green lights. And the gift of clarity in those moments. So people who've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Like all of a sudden there's an idea, there's something. All of a sudden the creator might reveal something to you. Like, But there's a cost to that. There's a cost to that. The other price of clarity is the emotional labor and regulation that you have to go through. See, because if it comes down to your emotions impact your frequency, those at the masterclass, who went to the masterclass, you get this. Your emotions impact your frequency. So then what are you going to do about this fear of change that overcomes you when every time you start to take the work on? But if I do that, everything's going to change. What are you going to do about experiencing this discomfort of growth and how that impacts you emotionally? Because let's be clear, most of us don't want to be uncomfortable because of the emotional impact of discomfort. Right now on Instagram, the marketing team is running some reels from a show I did about increasing your aim in life. And one of the things I talk about is when you're clear on the vision, the discomforts of everything around you start to not matter anymore. And I talked about how when a sniper is looking through the scope and they're very clear about, I got one shot. The entire regiment is depending on me for one shot. One shot. And when they're really dedicated, the distractions of life don't matter anymore. And I talk about how the flies might land on their ear. My buddy in Special Forces, he's like, oh, man, I've been stung before. I didn't literally watch the bee sting me. Literally. But your life is on the line if you move. Some of the things that you call yourself afraid of, if you get focused, all of a sudden the fears, oh, I hate bees. All right, I need you to sit here and not move for 5 minutes. No matter what happens, you get $1 million. A bee land, you be like, you're clear. The bee sting you, blow it out. You clear. People will tell you all the time what they can't do. I say, okay, put the proper reward in front of them. All of a sudden, they can. That's the power of clarity. Here's the real tough part. This is part of what we talked about at the masterclass when it comes to the price of clarity. What we distinguished is what's killing most of our clarity is our mindset. Like, we don't have the proper mindset. And the proper mindset takes a certain amount of work. And part of that work is your discipline with mental inputs. See, here's the thing. I can give you the formula. I can lead you to the water. You got to drink. There is nothing more impactful to your mindset than your mental inputs. If it weren't true, they wouldn't have flooded our community with this music. If it weren't true. Like, we got to believe it at some point. If it weren't true, we'd be in better shape. If it weren't true, our young people wouldn't be struggling with what they're struggling with. You can't tell me that, you look on TikTok and Instagram and all these things and people glorifying a 5-year-old girl who knows all the Sexy Red's lyrics. You know, the most damaging part of that is that that's subconsciously lodged into her mind now. It has become a mental input. I can tell you who she's going to be when she's 15. I can tell you who she's going to be when she's 15. You sit there and laugh at it. Ooh, that's so cute. No, it ain't cute. Who's she going to become? Why? Because of what has entered her mind. One of the most important things we have to learn to do to gain our clarity is to get disciplined with our mental inputs. I gave the example at the masterclass. So here's the tough part. We're humans. We have these pleasure sensors. And so what happens is we tend to lean towards our pleasure sensors in the moment versus thinking about the discipline of the vision. Like, this is where I'm going. And so I really do like this song. I really do. You know, when it really hit me was some time ago. I was engaged. I was engaged to my wife. And I remember I got up to run one morning and I put on my headphones, and I used to run with remember we used to have to wear the whole phone on the shoulder to keep up with your miles. Remember that? I strapped my phone to my shoulder and I started my playlist. And what's crazy about it was I was in this, it was early in the morning, I was in this already serene space. And I didn't know at the time, like, probably better not to play the music. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. When I began to learn, it was on this run. Because I had woken up so early, I believe the beta part of the theta waves were still going. And so how I was receiving the message of the music was different. Like, I was very clear about what was going into my mind because of how early it was. And Lil Wayne was playing. And he started talking about how he deals with multiple women. And this is what we do in my crew, and woo woo. And I'm like, oh man, this is not good for me. This is not where I'm headed. I just put a very expensive diamond ring on this woman's finger. This doesn't align with the investment. This music doesn't align with it. And it started to click for me. Like, man, this is not like, if I have a choice to make. By the way, the song was a banger, which is why it was on my playlist for working out, for running. Because, I thought it motivated me. And when I was single and acting like that, it did. Now it's like, man, if I don't curate what I'm consuming mentally to align to the investments I'm making in my life, I will destroy those investments. So then, why is it worth it? Like, why would I take on this level of discipline in my life? Why is it worth it? What's in it for me, Linnell? Because, man, it doesn't really seem like the way you're talking, the life you're talking about, it doesn't seem all that fun. Like, what do you do for fun? How are you moving? Well, here is why I believe clarity is so worth it. Here are the rewards of clarity. It's not too often I make a decision that I'm not confident in. Like confidence in decision making is one of the top rewards of clarity. For those who are going to be a part of the Discover and Live Your Life Purpose workshop, one of the things we're going to work through is a decision-making framework. Because when I know my purpose, that's my true north. And so now when I'm choosing which direction I'm going to go in my life, I already know where true north is. And so I have a compass for making those type of decisions. I'm so clear. It's so clear, like, nope, that doesn't align. Hey, Linnell, I got this opportunity. You want to, nope, that's not it. Hey, Linnell, I got this other opportunity. Ooh, really? That was the how that I didn't know I needed. You get where I'm going? That was the how. That was the next step in the actions that I'm supposed to take. Thank you for this opportunity. It's so clear. Boom. Let's make, and it's so clear I take action on it immediately. Here's the other piece. When you're clear, anxiety can't live with clarity. Like they can't coexist. Like, let me say it again. Anxiety cannot coexist with clarity. How do I know that? Anxiety is part of the human experience due to a lack of clarity. One of the reasons many of us deal with the anxiety that we deal with is because we are not clear. Our very physiology is saying, can we stop and get clear? That's, and so one of the rewards of clarity, one of the beautiful things about clarity is peace of mind. Peace of mind. So wait a second. You're telling me that if I begin to bring discipline into my mental inputs, I do some of these things that don't really seem all that desirable, but I do them, I get peace? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? I just don't understand, like, how do you sleep if, you know, your wife can never look at your phone? How do you go to bed peacefully? Or do you sleep with the EMFs on your head because it's under your pillow? So now you got the EMFs because you're going to pay for that. You know what I mean? Like how do you rest? Like peace of mind. Peace of mind. Here's the other part. When you're clear, you're in alignment. And when you're in alignment, there's fulfillment. I think some of us, like the dopamine hit, I hope for your life is the dopamine hit from fulfillment. Like when you actually have completed a worthy task, what it feels like to sit down then. I would say that my relaxation and entertainment experiences are probably surpasses most people's. You want to know why? Because there's nothing else I have to do. There's not something lingering in my mind like, well, you know you should, or you know you gotta. It's like I have come to a worthy finish line. There's more work to do somewhere, but I've come to a finish line where I actually get to be fully present. Are you willing to become a warrior for what it is you're looking to achieve? Are you look like a true warrior, like taking on a warrior's mindset and maintaining your focus and resilience, where you're like, hey, one of the things I think we all admire about warriors is that they stand on a line between life and death. And because they stand on the line between life and death, there has to be discipline. There must be discipline. You can't afford for the watchman to get tired and drift off to sleep. Like there has to be, I'm so clear that the role that I play is for the security of the entire camp and maybe even the winning of the entire war. It's like sleep can't even begin to come to me. I'm so clear. Like the warrior's mindset. And here's the thing. Most of us have had this experience before in some part of our lives. So the idea is that you use that. When is the last time where you had that moment of clarity that changed your life? Like part of the reason you are where you are now is because of that moment of clarity. Like you saw it crystal clear. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you went and delivered. Like, that's the game you should be looking to play in every facet of life, every pillar of life. Oh, you know what, Linnell, I have that professionally. Okay, now let's get it in your health. Oh, you know what, Linnell? Oh, I have that spiritually. Okay, now let's get it in your relationships. I believe one of the reasons we can't make the impact we intend to make in the areas that we are doing well in is because the table is leaning. When I say the table is leaning, the four pillars, like, you know, you want to have a spiritual impact on people, but your physical health doesn't display that. I don't trust you. Why would I believe you spiritually when I look at your physical? I can see that your physical health is out. How are you helping me? Well, they need to be, no. You see how we project? What can I do to ensure that my purpose and my message is received? That's leadership. I'm willing to push the plate to the side. I'm willing to bring a certain level of discipline. Like, when is the last time you had clarity, and how can you bring that clarity to another part of your life? But here's the thing. Clarity is going to demand of you courage. More than anything, the courage to face yourself. Because you're going to have to look at your shadow. You're going to have to take yourself in fully. This is who I am. This is what I must overcome. In order to get clear, you can't really be thinking about other people. Almost every time in my marriage where I'm focused on what my wife is doing wrong, I lose my power. My personal power is gone. I start to miss things about me because I was making it about her. By the time I look up, I'm man, you didn't drop the ball, L. Here we go. Because I'm over there, see, she just needs to, no. What do I need to do? How do I need to show up? It's easy to project. There's no clarity out there. There's no clarity over there. It's easy. What about me? What else do I need to take on? Okay, I'm winning here. Where else can I take these wins? And how clear do I need to be to achieve that? Clarity. If you want to take 2025 to the next level, be audacious and get clear about you. Here are the steps that I have here to cultivate clarity in your life. I'm going to close with this. Number one, self-reflection. You got to get silent time. I think it's one of the things I'm going to push for 2025. Like, you have to have quiet time. And I believe many of us don't go after quiet time because we don't know how to be with ourselves. And if you can't be with yourself, that might be the reason why a lot of folks don't want to be with you. You can't even be with yourself. Self-reflection, quiet time, journaling, getting present to who I am. Number two, start asking yourself better questions. What do I really want? Based on last week's conversation, where do I stop? Where do I stop in my health? Where do I stop in my marriage? Where do I stop with my family? Where do I stop in my career? Where do I stop with money? Where do I stop with my spirituality? We all got stops. What's stopping me? Ask yourself better questions. What do I really want? What's stopping me? Number three, start the process of eliminating your distractions and clutter. Like, if you notice that something owns you, cut it off. I remember some time ago, I noticed every time I saw the notification, Facebook will have 2, 3, 4, 5, the numbers. I'm like, I keep going in this app when I see a number. Cut it off. No more notifications. Nope. Linnell, you on Facebook still? Nah, I don't see. It's hard for me. I don't get on there anymore because I don't get notifications. I had to cut them off. Number 4, get support. If you think you're going to do this alone, I didn't become who I became walking this journey alone. It was because of phenomenal mentors and phenomenal coaches, phenomenal therapists, phenomenal volunteers, phenomenal teachers. Go get support. It's one of the reasons that the Slay Your Goals coaching community exists. Because that excuse for, coaching is too expensive, it's gone. By the way, the membership is $37 through the end of the month. We extended it. This is your shot. This is your chance. You can go to slayyourgoals.com to get that kind of support. $37 to the end of the month. After that, it goes back up to $70. We extended it. Get your support. Number 5. Adopt the warrior's mindset. At some point, you have to come to the conclusion that you're at war. If a warrior can't make a mistake, neither can you. At some point, I got to hold the line. What does a warrior have? Focus, resilience, and discipline. Focus, resilience, and discipline. I'll end the show with this. One of my favorite quotes from Joseph Campbell. The cave you fear to enter, that's the cave that holds the treasures you seek. You wanna take your life to the next level? Start doing what's counterintuitive. The cave you fear to enter is the cave that holds the treasure you seek. Take courage. Thank you for watching Inspirational Perspective. If you love this show and you want to see more content like this, you can go right here. And if you like this subject and you want to see much more content that we have available for you, just click the button here. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to watch the show live, 7 a.m. every Sunday morning on WBON Radio, or you can catch it right here on YouTube or Facebook.com/Coach Linnell Harris. Be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so we can get more content just like this to you.